Hello everyone and welcome back to DC Central, and in today's video I'm going to be breaking down and reviewing Supergirl Season 6 Episode 5, which is the latest season of Supergirl and the latest episode of Supergirl, so let's dive into it. So apologies once again for being gone. Obviously I know this is something I say pretty much in every video that I've been gone for a little while, and it's just because I ended up falling behind on the Arrowverse and I ended up just not catching up until literally the last couple of days. So I am now nearly up to date with everything. I'm up to date with The Flash, I'm up to date with Supergirl, I'm currently catching up on Batwoman at this time, and I'm also going to try and catch up on Superman and Lois as well before that returns in mid-May. But I'm fully caught up on the Arrowverse now, pretty much. The only show I haven't seen any of currently, besides Superman and Lois, is Black Lightning Season 4, and that's because I'll probably more than likely watch that when it drops on Netflix here in the UK. Black Lightning is a Netflix show here in the UK, so I will probably wait till then. I've watched every other season of Black Lightning on Netflix, so I'll probably just leave that for the final season as well, and then just do a big review of Season 4 once I've seen it, like I did with Season 3. I feel like it's probably the better option to do, but like I say, other than that, I'm mostly caught up on the Arrowverse. And just to give you my quick thoughts on Supergirl Season 6 so far, obviously this is the final season of Supergirl now, and we've had 5 episodes now, and so far my opinion is really positive actually. I've really enjoyed the season of Supergirl so far. I thought it was really well handled, really well done. Obviously they have had to deal with Melissa being gone for the first half, or like the first few episodes of this season, and they had to deal with that in Season 4 as well, and in a way it's felt kind of similar to that, but I think it's been handled much better here. Like the way they've gone about doing it, the storyline they've introduced in order to get around it, I think is a lot better. And just the story at hand, obviously being a slight continuation from the end of Season 5, we still are kind of mainly dealing with Lex. I think it's been really great. Obviously, if you have John Cryer as a focus, it's always going to be good. And I think that this season, even having like characters like Jean and McGahn particularly being very focal, has been a real credit to this season. So for me, Supergirl Season 6 has been a drastic improvement over Season 5, which was a season I was not a particularly big fan of at all. This season has been a massive improvement thus far, so I'm very excited to see what's going on, past the episodes we've received and how it's going to go for this final season. And with this episode, this may be the best of the season so far. So the main concept of this episode is in order to try and find a way to rescue Kara, who of course is currently stuck in the Phantom Zone, Brainy and Nia decide to go back to 2009 Midvale, and this is a really great concept for this show because going back to Midvale is always exciting. I loved the Midvale episode we got in Season 3, and this felt kind of similar. I absolutely loved going back to this, especially because the Midvale setting is always really nice. It's a nice breather to get us away from National City, obviously, which is quite a big location. It's quite nice to get away from that every now and then, despite the fact, I love National City, I love being in National City, but getting away from that and just going back to Midvale, it's kind of like, when you have Superman with Metropolis, who then goes to Smallville, it's kind of the equivalent of that, and it's really nice to go back to Midvale and just kind of go back in time in that way. And what I absolutely love most about it is every time we go back to Midvale, we always get to see the incredible Isabella Vidovich playing the young Kara Danvers, and she once again returns in this episode, and she's just amazing. She gets better every time she shows up. She is genuinely a fantastic actress, and she's not particularly old, she's a very young actress, but the way she portrays young Kara, like young Melissa Benoist, is just pitch perfect. It's incredible what she does. The way she captures her expressions, her mannerisms, her little nuances, her performance, it's just everything. It just screams young Kara. Like, it's honestly incredible casting. Because not only does she look like a young Melissa Benoist, but again, it's the way she acts, it's the way she talks, it's the way she looks, the way she walks. It's just, I don't know how she does it. It's so perfectly young Kara and young Melissa. And like I say, I've always loved Isabella in this role, and every time we see her, it's always really exciting, but this is the best she's ever been, hands down. And don't get me wrong, I really like the actress who plays young Alex as well. I think she also really does a good job of playing the young Kyla Lee. But Isabella, honestly, is kind of on another level. The way she replicates Melissa in a younger form is astounding, and she's, once again, fantastic in this episode. I was so impressed with her, and, it seems, but by the end of this episode, we've got a to be continued, so no doubt we're going to see her next week as well. as this seems to be a part 1, part 2 situation, but I really love her in this role. She's just incredible, and like I say, this is the best she's been so far. And a new actress we actually got to see in this episode was a young Cat Grant. So even though we didn't get Clarissa Flockhart in this episode to play Cat Grant, we did get a younger Cat Grant, and just like Isabella, she was fantastic at playing the young Clarissa Flockhart. She was honestly really good, nails down all those little things that she does, those little touches to her performance. She absolutely nails the Cat Grant character in the young form. I also like the little references, like she's on the phone quite a lot in this episode, and we get to see her talk to Perry White, and we actually find out she's working for the Daily Planet at this point in time. She's also kind of the major competition for Lois Lane, like she does name drop Lois. So it's really cool to kind of delve into that side of her character a little bit, because we didn't get to go much into her past before. So we get to dive into that. Like I say, the only thing I didn't like about the young Cat Grant was, even though I thought she was a great character and a great addition to this, and I really enjoyed her kind of investigation into Midvale, I wish they just would have got Clarissa Flockhart. I mean, I don't know if she wasn't available or what, because obviously this episode only takes place in 2009. It's not like this takes place, much beforehand. And Clarissa Flockhart looks incredible for her age. Like, she looks fantastic. It wouldn't have been out of the question to bring her for this episode and just have her play the younger version of herself. Like, it would have been totally believable. Given the fact that this takes place in 2009 and Supergirl began in 2015, it's totally not, implausible to use her. But, like I say, maybe she's not around, because as far as we know, she's not coming back for this final season, which I think, maybe it's just a thing they've not announced, maybe it's a thing they want to keep as a surprise, which I really hope it is, because, to be honest, we really need Clarissa Flockhart for this final season. Like, if she doesn't come back at any point during this final season, I'll be very sad about that, because she's such a core part of this show, like, particularly in, like, that first season. Like, she was so important, like, such a great character, and really helped shape Kara as a character, and particularly as a journalist. So I really hope we get to see Clarissa, and like I say, it would have been lovely to have her in this episode. I think it would have worked, and I think it would have been perfect, but given the fact they did go for a younger actress to portray a sort of younger version, I thought she did a fantastic job as well. Truly incredible, and again, just like Isabella Vinovich, really got those nuances and those perfect little elements of Clarissa Flockhart's performance as Cat Grant in this younger portrayal. And what I also really enjoyed in this episode was Brainy and Nia being at the forefront, because these two characters are characters that I'm such a huge fan of. Like, I love Brainy. I loved when he was introduced in season 3, and the way he's become such an important character and such a big member of the team when he was originally a part of another team and kind of had to transition to kind of replace Win when Jeremy Jordan left the show. It was a very natural transition, and he just has absolutely become one of my favorite characters on the show. And same with Nia. I love Nicole Maines. I think she's fantastic, and the way that she plays this character with such genuine care and so much attention, and you can tell that she truly loves this character and embodies this character and has really made this character her own, given the fact that this character of Nia Nal, even though she has kind of inspirations from character in the comics, she isn't actually a character who exists within DC Comics. She is going to soon. She is actually being brought in soon, but Nia Nal as a character doesn't actually exist in the comics, so she's truly made this character her own. So seeing these two at the forefront rather than being side characters was really, really nice. I love when the Arrowverse shows get to kind of give episodes to these slightly, side characters on the team. Taking, rather than focusing on characters like Kara and Alex and Jean, even though I love those characters, of course, it's really nice just to kind of give an episode to these two and just let them be the stars, and I really love that. They were great in this episode. Their dynamic and their little relationship is something I'm very much invested in, and again, their little plays back and forth are just fantastic, and the way they play off of each other is great. I really buy their dynamic and their relationship in this show, and especially even those little scenes where Nia really brings out the best in Brainy, and Brainy brings out the best in Nia. That scene where Nia sings in this episode was really nice. I know some people might find that a little cringe, but I thought it was really nice, and getting to, I didn't know Nicole Maines could sing, so that was pretty cool. And again, it's just their relationship. I'm totally into it, and I just love seeing them at the forefront as the best characters they can be, getting their own starring role within the season, which I think they really deserve to get, in this final season. And I hope that after Supergirl ends, we see more of these characters. I don't know where they would go. I mean, I've seen a lot of people talk about that, after this episode, they would be perfect candidates to go to Legends of Tomorrow. I think that's very believable. Like, I would love to see them go to Legends. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's something that would ever happen, but like I say, I would love to see more of these characters going forward once Supergirl ends. And there was also another character who was introduced in this episode by the name of Kenny. Now, he's in the past, in 2009, and he is Kara's boyfriend. Now, they made a very sort of specific and obtuse reference to this character right at the beginning of the episode, where Alex says, yeah, Kenny was also around in this time, and blah, 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 blah. And John says, well, didn't Kenny die? And she says, well, this is a effect of Crisis. You know, the old world, new world. In this new reality, Kenny didn't die, so he's technically still around. So I reckon we're probably going to see Kenny at some point this season, in this final season. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, like the actual grown-up version, because if he... It's kind of a weird thing to mention, you know, that he did die in the previous timeline and is alive now. They didn't have to mention that. They didn't even have to mention the fact that he died at some point in the future. Like, you could have just had this character in this episode, in this flashback, or in this, you know, previous time period, and never mention anything like that. They didn't have to write that into the story and into the character, but they went out of their way to kind of have a reference to that. So I believe we are going to see Kenny at some point in the future. Again, I don't know that. That's just a theory. It's just speculation. We haven't had any casting or anything like that. Like I say, it's just such an obtuse thing that they didn't have to write into the script, but they specifically put it in there. That makes me think we're going to see this character at some point in the present timeline, which I think would be pretty cool to see given what he's been involved with in this episode. Now, this episode isn't perfect. I do have a couple of issues with it. For one, the kind of alien villain subplot we have in this episode, where we have these two random aliens kind of coming after Kara, like coming after a Kryptonian. I just didn't really feel like it was necessary. Like, I feel like there wasn't necessarily a need for a major antagonist in this episode, and it seems like there may be going to be more of a focus in the next episode. But in this particular one, I felt like, you know, they didn't need an enemy. They didn't need an antagonist, and the closest they had to an antagonist was Cat Grant, kind of on their tail, and I think that would have worked fine. If you took the aliens out of this episode, I don't think it really would have been any different. And like I say, they were a bit cartoony and a bit over the top, which sometimes I can work with, but in this episode I don't think it particularly worked well. So yeah, I could have done without the alien subplot, to be honest. Like I said, I'll see where they go with it in the next episode. Maybe it'll follow through, but in this particular episode, they didn't work for me. And the other thing was, particularly Brainy and Nia, and the way they wrote the script, they treated 2009 like it was the 80s. You know, they treated it like they were going back in time decades. It was only 1 decade ago. Like, 2009 wasn't that long ago. And this is kind of relates to my point about why they didn't get Clarissa Flockhart to just play the young Cat Grant. Like, 2009 wasn't that long ago. But they were treating it like they were going back to, you know, like we got that Flash episode a few weeks ago where Cisco and Chester went back to like that 80s reality, and for that they had to actually kind of change how they spoke and change how they dressed and whatnot. But 2009 wasn't that long ago. Like, it wasn't like society has changed massively since then. But in this, they were kind of talking about words that were used at that time, and, you know, they had to dress like in clothing from that time. You know, they were treating it like it was like an ancient time period, but it wasn't like that at all. Like, it was only 2009. So that was a little weird. But again, I think that was just them trying, obviously, to get some comedy and whatnot. It just felt a little bit weird, because like I said, I was like, it wasn't that long ago, guys, like, come on. It wasn't like the 80s or whatever, or even any further than that. It's not like in Legends of Tomorrow when they have to like actually fabricate clothing for themselves to replicate the time period. You know, it was 2009. Society hasn't progressed that much since 2009. So like I say, it's not a major gripe. I can see why they, you know, were just making jokes and whatnot. It just felt a little bit weird. But on the whole, I really enjoyed this episode of Supergirl. I thought it was really fun. Again, I loved going back to Midvale. I always enjoy going back to Midvale in these types of episodes, and just seeing Isabella Vinovich again as young Kara. Like, it's really nice that we actually get to see her in this final season, you know, before it ends, because again, her performance is so good as young Melissa. And again, the young Cat Grant was a really nice surprise in this episode. Again, I really enjoyed seeing her. And just having Brainy and Nia have their own story where they're really the main characters of the episode, I really appreciated. I could have done without the alien subplot. And again, the 2009 references were a bit weird, given the fact it wasn't that long ago. But altogether, I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was really fun. And again, maybe the best episode of the season, potentially. Episode 1 was also very good, but you know, episode 5, it was really strong, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm very interested to see where this, you know, to be continued is going to continue. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you did enjoy this video, and make sure you stay tuned for more DC TV Arrowverse content just like this. Make sure you let me know your thoughts on this episode as well, down in the comment section down below. I've seen there have been a little bit some divisive thoughts on this episode, so make sure you let me know yours in the comments down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys again next time.